He's an old head.
Youngins are really starting to get on my damn nerves.
He's a purveyor of nonsense. He's a Georgia high school coaching job influencer. His favorite Bible verse is, Jesus wept. He's the man of constant sorrow, Chris Lamb.
Yeah.
Welcome to Sun Coaches Podcast, and I got a special treat for you today. Got the defensive coordinator from Auburn High School in Auburn, Alabama, Coach Scott Goolsby. Coach, thanks for being with us tonight.
Coach, thank you for having me, man. I'm honored to be on here with a man of constant sorrow.
Well, most people out there know you for every video you make goes viral, your funny videos, and I don't think people understand that it's just a normal, average, everyday. Yeah. All the coaches think it's hilarious because it's what we do.
Yeah, that's right. And it's funny how that whole thing got started with my daughters put Snapchat on my phone, right? And I don't even know how to use Snapchat. I mean, I got Instagram and Twitter and all that. I literally don't know how to post anything on there. And I guess it's probably been maybe 2 years ago now. I was really getting ready to go to a glazer clinic, sitting in my truck. For some reason, I got on there and just started playing with the filters. Before I leave school every morning, I'd go sit in my truck for about, 10 minutes and just drink coffee and chill for a little bit before I go into work. And I was sitting there doing that and got on Snapchat. And I don't know what got into me. I got this fat face filter and started just talking like an offensive line coach and recorded it and sent it to a buddy of mine. And he lost it. He's like, man, you gotta post that somewhere. So I didn't immediately post it because, I was like, I don't want to know if I want to post this out there for the world to see. But anyway, I finally did. And man, that thing absolutely blew up.
Oh yeah. Well, they're all clean and they're all funny. And and if you're a coach, I mean, it's, I don't know. The equipment room one was funny to me. Yeah. You can't find your knee pads. Maybe you tackle somebody on Friday.
Oh my gosh. Because that's stuff that, I mean, I'll be at work and we'll be doing something. The coaches will go, man, that's another video right there. Like, you got to make a video on that. And I'll it's funny too, because I'll see people somewhere and they go, who do you have helping you do this? Like, how long, who's your team? How long does it have? How long does it take you? I'm like, guys, I ain't got time to have a team and I ain't got time for this to take long. Like, I'll keep notes in my phone. Like, if something comes to my mind, I'll type in my phone and then I'll come upstairs and film it. And I guess you could say film it in like 10 minutes and then post it on Twitter. Like, I ain't got a team. It's me.
Yeah, it's you. Yeah. Just whatever comes up. Yeah. Yes. I've typed stuff on there and people are like, where do you come up with this stuff? And I'm like, class. That's right. I'm usually putting it on there as soon as I see it happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, you could do a similar series of videos of just being a teacher with classroom stuff.
Yeah. No, I don't think the normal, average, everyday person understands the level of nonsense that we deal with.
No, I don't. And that's, I don't ever want to coach football if it's not fun.
Right.
And we sit around the coaches' office all the time and just do the dumbest stuff. Like, we got a coach on our staff that relies heavily on his desk calendar. Like, he's going to always have a desk calendar. I don't think he could function if he didn't have, one of those big desk calendars you write stuff on. And I got in there today and nobody was in office and I just started writing like random crap on there, just stupid stuff. And he gets down there after school and he's like, Goolsby, you did this, didn't you? And I was like, well, yeah. And he starts reading and we're all laughing. And I'm like, how have we ever won a single ball game around here with the stupid stuff that we do?
Well, I mean, but you got to do it. You
got to have fun.
You got to, because the season's long and everything else. But I just wanted to get that out of the way at the beginning because people need to understand that you're a whole lot more than just a funny guy on Twitter.
Well, I appreciate it.
So where did your story start? Where did you go to high school?
I went to high school in a little town called East Bruton, Alabama. You've probably never heard of that. You may have been through it going to the beach sometime. That's how most people have heard it. But it's in South Alabama, probably an hour and a half north of Mobile.
So you're from L.A.?
Yeah, Lower Alabama. That's right.
Okay, I got you.
I'm from L.A. But I grew up there and went to W.S. Neal. So I don't know if there's a Bruton and an East Bruton. And East Bruton's got W.S. Neal and Bruton's got T.R. Miller. And we call it the Battle of Murder Creek because the two towns are separated by Murder Creek. And so it was really a really good place to go to school. We were a 3A school, and T.R. Miller was a 4A school. And, you know, for somebody growing up in Bruton and East Bruton, playing in that rivalry was something that you always wanted to do. And I never beat T.R. Miller. I'm totally over it. Like, it doesn't bother me as a 48-year-old man. I promise I don't think about it weekly, especially the fact that my senior year we were undefeated and ranked number 2 in the state. And Miller had lost a couple ball games, which was, you know, Jamie Riggs was their head coach, and they were rolling in the 90s. I mean, nobody was beating T.R. Miller. But we had them at our place, and we were up 14-7, 14-6 at halftime, playing good. Rainstorm, muddy night, you know, good Friday night, small town high school football. And came out in the second half, and it turned into a defensive battle, and they blocked 2 punts and scooped them up both and ran them both in for touchdowns and beat us 20-14. And it was, you know, I kid people all the time and tell them, hey, I'm over it, you know, but it really, you know, that's something that's special about high school football, I think, because I still think about that. I'm 48 and got 2 kids and coaching at Auburn High, but I still think about that game, you know, and how, you know, that was our year to get them. And, you know, we didn't do it. But anyway, that's where I went to school, and I played for Hugh Fountain. You know, the Fountains are big in East Bruton, and he was my high school coach. And he, you know, coached me in Little League baseball and all that kind of stuff growing up. He's a great guy. But that's where I went to school. And
did you get a chance to play college ball?
No, Coach, I'm big. Like, I'm 6'3", 250. I'm just big for no reason at all. Like, there's no reason for me to be this big. And I mean, I love to work out and exercise, but I'm like, no, I didn't play college football. Now, I'll say this. I had some opportunities, but they were like all far off. And I don't know. I guess I was, you know, growing up in a small town, I guess I was kind of, looking back on it, kind of a small-minded person, because I had opportunities to go play, but I was kind of like, you know, I don't want to go that far off, or I only want to go play here. I only want to go play there. And I'm looking back on it, and I'm like, why didn't you take some of those opportunities? Like, I tell kids nowadays when they get an opportunity, I'm like, you're only young once. You know, if you get an opportunity, go do it. And I look back on it, and I didn't do any of that, you know, but I didn't know too, you know, recruiting was so different then, you know. I just thought those guys they were going to come see you, you know, they were going to come watch you play on Friday nights. So I only went on like 2 or 3 recruiting visits that I had, because I didn't think it was that big of a deal, you know. So, no, long story short, I didn't go play any college football. I went to junior college in Bruton for 2 years, which I basically wasted because I was going to, you know, major in. My plan was to go to Troy University, and I was going to major in PE and be a PE teacher and be a football coach. And then I met a young lady who was going, and we'd already been to Troy and set things up and got a program and a plan. And I met a young lady, and we started dating, and she was going to Auburn. And I got family in Auburn. I've come to Auburn my entire life, you know, visit family and go to Auburn games. And, you know, this young lady's going to Auburn, and I remember telling my dad that I think I want to go to school at Auburn. And for some reason, luckily, he didn't say, no, we've already got this planned out. Like, we kind of switched gears, and I guess I left Bruton. I guess it was 96. I graduated high school in 94, and, you know, came to Auburn. And, golly, moving from East Bruton to Auburn, Alabama was a big difference, you know, big difference. But anyway, got up here, went to school, did my thing, graduated in 2000, and, you know, started looking for a job. And really kind of a funny story about that. When I graduated in 2000, I didn't want to leave Auburn. You know, I mean, I was loving living here, and I lived in a trailer in Conway Acres. I don't know if you know anything about Auburn, or if you've ever been to Auburn. It's beautiful.
Y'all got a Buc-ee's.
We do have a Buc-ee's, and there's still trailer parks here in Auburn. But in the 90s, like, a lot of college kids lived in trailers in Auburn. And Conway was a beautiful trailer, still is. Ponds everywhere, land. It's a great place to live. And so I was loving living in my little single wide, you know, 1970s model trailer that my dad bought for me. I was working at Kmart in Bruton, and we had been to Auburn to look for trailers. And my parents had went to Auburn on this particular day, and I was working at Kmart. Got off work. My dad came home and said, son, I bought you a trailer. And I said, oh, you did? And come to find out, he had bought me a trailer. He had written a check. This tells you what shape this trailer was in. He wrote a check to the lady that day to pay for the trailer. And we had to wait like 3 or 4 days for the pictures to get developed, because we didn't have cell phones and all that back then. And so like 3 or 4 days later, we go get the pictures at Kmart, and I see the place that I'm going to be living in when I go to school at Auburn. But I love living there. And so I just remember telling my dad, I said, Dad, I don't think I'm going to leave. I applied for some jobs. There's several schools kind of around the area. I applied for some jobs, talked to some guys. Didn't really hear anything. And I remember telling my dad, I said, I think I'm just going to stay around here, and I'm going to try to get one of these jobs. And if I can't, I'd love to just go to grad school and go ahead and get my master's out of the way. And then my dad said, whoa. So I stopped right there. He said, are you planning on eating next year? And I said, well, yes, sir, I'm planning on eating. He said, well, you take the first job offer you get. I don't care where it is. I'm done paying for you to live. And I said, and that was his exact words. And I said, oh, okay. And so lucky for me, my high school coach, Hugh Fountain, that I played for, was working at Charles Henderson High School in Troy. It's a 5A school, and he had been there 3 or 4, 5 years, something like that. I don't know. And he had a job opening, and he hired me, and that was the first job offer I got. And of course, I took it and moved to Troy and started working at Charles Henderson in 2000 for my old high school football coach.
Oh, that's cool.
It was really cool. And I look back on it, and I remember him telling me when he was talking to me about the job and all, he said, a lot of people have to start off at a smaller school and kind of work their way up. And not that Charles Henderson was a huge school, but it was 5A, back when Alabama, we only had 6 classifications. And so, he was selling me on all the stuff about, we don't have to line fields here. We have a guy that does this and does that. And he didn't have to sell me on anything. I mean, I had to eat, so I had to take the job. But looking back on it, it was cool to work for him. I think it was a little bit, it took me and him both time to realize that, hey, I'm a coach now. I'm not a player. Like, you can't tell me to go, run gassers and get on the line and make me do up downs like you used to do back in '94. And I pick on him about that stuff now. He's still in coaching. He's back at WSNL right now as the head coach. He's moved around a couple of times, but he's back there. But it was awesome working for him, man. Troy was a good town to live in. I moved into a little, golly, I don't know how big that little house was. I mean, it was a little house that I rented right behind the post office. And all I did was, work and coach football. And I was teaching history back then. I teach driver's ed now, praise the Lord. But I was teaching history back then. I was teaching honors history. And God Almighty, it was killing me. And I'm coming right out of college, and going into working a full day and teaching 3 classes and coaching football. And Coach Fountain is not one of these guys. Now, he burns the midnight oil. So he's going to stay out there till 9 or 10 o'clock every night. He's probably at WSNL football office right now. I mean, he burns the midnight oil. And so I felt like as a first-year coach, I was like, if he's out here, I got to be out here. You know what I mean? And so I was staying out there with him too. And I'd run home and eat some ramen noodles and write out some notes for the next day and crash and get up. And I was running, trying to just keep my job and do a decent job. And I remember my sister got married that like maybe October. And I hadn't seen none of them. I mean, since probably July. Probably July. Like, you starting work. I hadn't seen any of my family. And I remember going home. My mom was like, son, are you on drugs? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, I literally had lost probably 25 pounds just running. And I can look back on those pictures and look at myself. And I was like, no, Mama, like, I'm working. This is what it looks like. And so that first year for me was tough, man. It was a struggle. But, I look back on that. And first of all, I learned so much about hard work. And I don't stay out there till 10 o'clock now, but I stay out there until I get my work done. And if it's 10 o'clock, it's 10 o'clock. But, I did a terrible job coaching that first year too now. I just remember, you grow up, you play football and you go to college and I didn't do anything with football in college, but I thought I knew football. But then when you go out there and you got to actually teach it to some teenagers, holy cow, that's totally different than knowing a little bit of it and actually having to go teach it to somebody else. And I remember it dawning on me. Well, first of all, I remember we played Auburn High School the first game of the year. and they were running the triple option. And we were a 50 front, slant front defense, old school 50 front, slanting it, playing cover 3 and all that stuff. And we're playing this option team, and I coached defensive ends. And I remember sitting in the office. We won the game like 36-33, something like that. And I remember sitting in the office with Coach Fountain and the defensive coordinator, and we were just sitting in there talking. And, of course, everybody else was gone. And I remember Coach Fountain looked up, and he was like, man, we were just talking about the game. We didn't play well defensively. Obviously, gave 33 points. But I remember he just made the comment. He said, who killed us tonight? He said, our defensive ends, they did a terrible job. And that was who I was coaching. And I remember thinking at that point, I was like, man, this is my high school head coach, and I'm doing a terrible job for him. Like, I'm not coaching these guys up. And I just realized throughout the years, like, I'm not doing a great job. Like, I'm not a good coach. And I remember he would, at the end of every season, he would make us, we had to fill out this, like, program eval where we just evaluated, the program, himself, everything we were doing. And part of it was evaluating ourselves. And I remember writing this long, like getting on my Dell desktop computer in my classroom and typing out this long thing, basically apologizing to him and telling him, I'm sorry I did a bad job. I'm not ever, I'm going to get to work and blah, blah, blah. And I started just getting on the internet, looking at stuff, going to Glazier clinics and just trying to learn and be a good assistant coach, which is something that I still hang on to today. I don't want to be the weak link on the coaching staff. And I don't want, before I became the coordinator here and I was coaching linebackers, I'd tell our head coach all the time, so you're not ever going to have to worry about the linebackers. Like, you find another position to worry about. You're not going to have to worry about us. And I still coach the backers, but, I tell our coach now, so you just don't worry about us on defense. Like, we're going to figure it out and we're going to get it straight. And it just all goes back to that first year, man, where I just thought I did a terrible job,
Well, how long were you at Henderson?
I was there for 8 years. So we had some good teams. That first year we went to the playoffs, and they had not been to the playoffs. I forget how many years. But before Fountain got there, they'd been 0-10. They won a state championship in 1980. And then right before he got there, they'd been 0-10 several years, and they were down low bad. And he tells a funny story that one of his, and I wasn't there yet. Like I said, he was there probably 3 years or so before I got there. But he said one of his first practices, they're lining up doing the punt return team. And so, we used to do the old set the wall punt return, where we'd have the defensive end crash down. And when the ball was punted, everybody would just turn and run and you'd make a wall, and then the punt returner would run outside of the wall. Well, he said the first day they did that, the defensive end squeezes and crashes down, and he turns and goes to get into the wall, and the punt returner standing there waiting to catch the ball, and the dang defensive end who's setting the wall decleated the punt returner. I mean, just hit him under the chin. He's like, these kids didn't even know. This kid didn't even know they were on the same team. They didn't even know football, and so the facilities weren't great. And so anyway, we got to the playoffs that year, got beat. That was first year in years they'd been in the playoffs, and then we went on a little, I guess you can call it a run. We'd get to the quarterfinals every year, and we could never get past the quarterfinals. We 2 years we got beat by St. Paul's down in Mobile that had the doggone Alabama national championship team. It had A.J. McCarron and Mark Barron and Ivan Matchett, Lewis Watson, Destin Hood. They had some dudes, and we got beat by them, and then we got beat by another St. Paul's team, and then we got beat by Homewood twice back when they were winning state championships and rolling. So we had really good teams. We just never could get past the third round of the playoffs. But we had a new facility built while we were there. We had a little indoor weight room, a lot of really, really nice facility. They're still using it today. And we just had some kids. When I look back on it, those kids would run through a brick wall for you. Like, you might have to go pick them up now to get them to come to workouts. Like, you may have to go around to 2 or 3 different trailer parks in a project or two and load 4, 5, 6 guys on the back of your truck and get them to workouts. I did that, so much at Charles Henderson. But golly, they would run through a brick wall for you. Now they were fun to coach.
So where'd you go after that?
Well, I left there in 2007 after the fall of 2007. and went to Geneva High School in Geneva, Alabama, and that's another town in LA. It's further east than Bruton is.
Yeah,
but
I've been by there. My in-laws live in Bay Minette, and we go through
yeah,
Auburn on our way down there. Now that we
yeah,
live near Warner Robins, it's easier
yeah,
for us to just go
yeah,
Columbus, Auburn, and go down. So we've been by Geneva,
yeah.
and
Well,
been that way.
yeah. So it's a small town,
Mm-hmm.
right? Rural kind of area. But
You
I
can
was
see the
getting,
school from the interstate, I think.
yeah. So anyway, I was kind of getting the itch to go be a coordinator. And so I've kind of was just kind of looking around, and now I've been coaching for 7 years. And so I was not arrogant at all. I guess I was thinking, I don't even know what the word is to describe it, but I'm thinking I'm fixing to go take a defense coordinator job, and I'm going to set the world on fire. I'm going to be the best coach the state's ever seen. And man, we're going to go I told my wife when I got this job at Geneva, I said, man, we're going to go set this place on fire. We're going to be there for 3 or 4 years. Then we're going to go get another big job. And then and you're just going to kind of climb the ladder, and that's just kind of what I thought. And I remember, before I started working there, I would drive down there and watch them work out some and do this. And I'm in the weight room one day. There's some good-looking dudes in there lifting weights, man. I'm like, who is this kid? Tell me about him. They're like, oh, he's safety. He graduated last year. I was like, oh, all right. What about this kid right here? Great linebacker. He graduated last year. I'm like, So I kind of go around the room, and there's like 6 or 8 kids. And they're like, yeah, they all graduated last year. I was like, oh, not good. So anyway, I moved down there, and I was there for 5 years, and I think we went to the playoffs my first 2 years. We won like 5 or 6 games or something like that. And we got in the playoffs, we got beat. And then those last 3 years, we were just not good. Like, we were just not good on defense. I was a coordinator. We were not good on defense. We were just not good at all. And, there's not a ton of athletes in that area. They'd hit a pretty hard dry spell right before I got there. And a couple of people had told me that, but still, I wanted to go try it, and I was working for a guy whose wife was actually from Bruton, and I'd known her and her family for a while. And Geneva's a great little town, great place to live. It's an hour from Destin, Florida. Great people there. We just could never get it rolling. And, I told myself several times after the season, I was like, man, I need to leave and let somebody else try this and go somewhere else. But I'm a loyal guy now. I've been to 3 schools in 24 years. I don't like to bounce around and move around, even though initially I thought that's the path my career would take. But I don't like to do that, especially, now I got kids. I got a 15-year-old and a 9-year-old, and, I don't really want to bounce them around and move them a lot. And so being that kind of guy who tries to be loyal and, really goes back to Fountain and working for him. He used to tell me all the time, and I still remember this, that the grass is not always greener on the other side. He said, you got to make your grass green wherever you are. And so I stayed there and tried to make my grass green and just could never do it. And so my last year there, we got a new head coach. And so I said, I'm going to stay one more year, and we're going to do it. We're going to make it work. And at that point in time, my daughter was like, I don't know what she was, like little 2 maybe. And so anyway, we played the first game of the season, and we got beat again. And I remember coming home and walking in the door of our house and setting my little bag down, and my wife was, of course, waiting on me. And I remember telling her then, I said, look, we're moving. Like, I've tried and tried. I said, we're done. I'm done here. So when the season's over, just know that we're going somewhere. I don't know where, but we're going to move. And my wife's a great coach's wife. Like, she's willing. She's only told me one time in my life, and I'm not going to say the place, but she's only told me one time in my life, I will not move there. You're not going to coach there. Any other place she's been totally open to. And so I promised her that I would move her somewhere, good, that hopefully we could establish roots. And, I really, when we left there in Geneva, I wanted to go somewhere where, number one, I was tired of losing. I wanted to win. I didn't care what I was doing. I wanted to win, and I wanted to get back. If you've ever coached somewhere where you don't have a ton of athletes, like we tried to out scheme people, and I probably got away from some of the truths that I know about defense. And so, when I made the decision to leave, I wanted to go somewhere I could win, somewhere that was nice for my family, and somewhere I could just get back to my roots and get back to the stuff that I knew was true about defense. And so we went through that season and, whatever. And we didn't make the playoffs. And I told the coach, I don't think I told him anything right after the season, but I started looking for jobs. And the head coach at Auburn High then, Tim Carter, who's now at Fairhope, I'd known for a while. And I had talked to him over the years about going to work at Auburn. And, he'd call, he'd have something, and I'd say, no, I'm going to stay at Geneva one more year or whatever. And so, there's two other jobs that I was looking at, and then a job at Auburn. A job at Auburn had gotten posted on, I don't even remember what it was. It may have been Auburn's website. I don't know. But I started calling Tim to ask him about his job, and I can't get him on the phone. And I'm like, darn, I know he's got my number. Like, answer the phone. And he would, finally we got, he answered my call, and we got to talk. And I told him, I said, Coach, I'm looking for a job. I'm wanting to move. I'd love to move to Auburn. And he's like, look, I've called you 2 or 3 times. He's like, I ain't got nothing. Like, I don't have anything this time. And so anyway, we kept talking. And finally he told me, he said, look, the only thing I got, they have some teaching slots. Auburn's always going to have some teaching slots that come out. And he said, the only thing I got is going to be a JV spot and like a 9th, 8th, 7th grade spot. He said, that's all I got. And the other 2 places that I was looking at were coordinator jobs, but they weren't near the quality of life that you was going to have in Auburn. And those other 2 schools were kind of winning, but not really. And Auburn High is winning back in, what was that? I guess 2012, 2013. They're winning. And so, and I knew Auburn. And I just remember telling him on the phone, I said, Coach, if you can get me a job there and I can come work for you, I will do whatever you got on your staff. I don't care what it is. And come to find out, it ended up being a 9th, just to make a long story short, it ended up being the defensive coordinator job for the 9th grade team is what the football job was. And then the teaching job, I'd taught history my whole life. And my last year at Geneva, our driver's ed teacher left. And I long story short, I got that job. And of course, you like that job better than you do teaching history. You get to ride around in a car and go eat breakfast every day. Like, that's better than teaching history. I mean, literally, that's, my goodness. I could do some videos on the stuff in the driver's ed car, man. I mean, okay. I know I'm going to pause for a minute and tell a driver's ed story, but so there was a gas station down, I forget the highway, 87, that we would drive to. And so we go to this gas station, and I don't get anything, but I got a girl driving back who had not driven a ton, but it's a straightaway highway. Like, how hard can this be? Like, turn left out of the gas station and don't turn again. That's basically what we're going to do. And so there's 2 students in the back, 2 football players, and they got styrofoam plates with grits and eggs and bacon and sausage and all this stuff. And the little girl, we're sitting there to turn left, and there ain't nobody coming for a week. And she's just sitting there. And I was like, look, go, nothing's coming. Like, get out there and go. Well, she freaking gasses that car and jerks the wheel left. And then we're fishtailing. And then I grabbed the steering wheel to get it back straight. And when I did, we jump up on the curb into this yard, I guess it was, or this house out here. And I don't even know what we did, but I know when I got the car stopped, there's grits and eggs and bacon in my lap. And I don't know what I said to that girl. I blacked out. I apologize to her if she's listened about what I said. But the car stopped. Nobody's got hit. Nobody's dead. But I mean, there's breakfast all in that Malibu or whatever we were driving. And I do remember telling her to get out. And I got out, and she got in the passenger seat, and I got in the driver's seat, and we drove back to Geneva, and nobody said a word the whole time. I was so mad. But anyway, so I wanted to teach driver's ed at Auburn, and it came down to a history job and a driver's ed job. And I'm like, Lord, I don't ever want to go back in the history classroom again once you get a taste of driver's ed. And so I got the driver's ed job. And so the principal called me one day. I'm at football practice. I was still coaching in the spring for Geneva, and I'm get in my truck after practice or before practice, I don't remember. And the principal calls me and says, hey, we're going to offer you the driver's ed job. He said, I know that you need to go home and talk this over with your wife and pray about it. And I said, no, sir, I want the job. I'll take it right now. And he said, you're going to accept right now? You don't need to talk. I said, no, sir. I want a job right now. I can already tell you. And so I took the job sitting in my truck at Geneva's practice field. And then we worked out the football job. But so we moved to Auburn in 2013, and I coached ninth grade football my first year. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that wasn't a little bit of a hard thing to do, I'll say, after being the coordinator and having the goals that I had when I went to Geneva. It felt like, what in the world am I doing? Even though I took the job knowing that's what it was, I kind of took the job thinking to myself, I'm going to go out there and bet on myself. And really, to be honest with you, Coach, I'm a Christian guy, and I told the Lord, I said, look, I'm just going to give you my coaching career. I'm tired of fighting this. I'm going to give it to you and let you just do with it what you will. But like any man, that's easier said than done, I came to Auburn and coached ninth grade football, and there were times where I was thinking, what in the world am I doing? Like, what are you doing? But to this day, that's probably still the funnest time I've ever had coaching was coaching ninth grade football, because those kids, you just get to teach them ball. Mm-hmm. And we ended up having a good group. That team became a really good team for us on our varsity. So I was sitting there going like, man, these guys, like, there's some really good football players out here. I felt like I hadn't coached that in a while. Like, we were having fun at practice, and they were good and fast and didn't mind hitting. And I just got to teach them ball. And I still was with the varsity on Friday nights. I was in the press box with the defensive coordinator, but I didn't have a position that I was worried about out there on the field, how they performed. It was a blast. I had a lot of fun. We went to the state championship game in 2013, got beat by Hoover. So it was a great year. And then so many things happened. And I don't want to drag this thing out, but our defensive coordinator for that team was a guy named Anthony Jeter. Great guy. He was the assistant principal of the high school, and he was the defense coordinator for the football team. Just like a bigger than life personality, like really good, humble guy. He came to me when I got here, and he said, look, I don't have any ego. He said, I watched film with him, did all this. He said, you see anything on film? He said, don't be afraid to speak up. He said, I want to win. I don't care where the idea comes from. Just a great, humble guy. Well, he died of a massive heart attack this time, like this week, after my first year at Auburn.
Oh, my God.
That was so sad. I mean, just tore the town up. I mean, just everybody knew him, and he was, like I said, he was just bigger than life personality in town. And anyway, they shuffled the staff around, and I got moved up to the varsity staff, and I coached tight ends for that next year. And then our head coach left, and we hired another coach, and I don't know the guy they were hiring. I didn't know. And I'm sitting there going, all right, I'm the non-tenured driver's ed teacher at Auburn High. Like, I'm definitely getting cut, right? I mean, nobody keeps the non-tenured driver's ed teacher. That's who you bring your coordinators in for, and they get the driver's ed spot. Well, the guy kept me, and they didn't take me out of my driver's ed spot. And I started coaching linebackers in 2015. And in 2020, our defense coordinator that we had then came to me and said, hey, I'm leaving. I've got a head coaching job. And, you probably going to be the coordinator and all that. Well, actually, he told me that in 2019. And then he didn't get that job. And then he came out in 2020. And so I remember, 2020 was obviously when COVID hit, right? And so we had an early spring break again. And so we go to Disney World, and I parked the driver's ed car at the end of the day. I walk into the coach's office, so our head coach, who I had a good relationship with, and I said, Coach, I know Patrick Plott was the guy that was leaving. I said, I know Plott's leaving. And I said, I want a chance at the job. Like, I want the job. And it kind of shocked him that I knew that Plott was leaving, I think. But, he didn't promise me anything. He said, Coach, all I can tell you, he said, I've got to hire a veteran coach in his spot. And, I don't know what that's going to look like, blah, blah, blah. And I said, and I just left, and I said, well, I would love a chance at the job if you'll just give me a chance. And then I left, and we went to Disney World. And I'm sitting there at Disney World, and my daughter got sick while we were there. And so I'm in the hotel room, wherever we stayed at the resort. And that, the day when they started canceling all the SEC tournament and the ACC tournament, they started canceling everything, if you remember all that. And I remember thinking, like, what's going on? And then later that day, we go to Magic Kingdom, and I'm standing in line to get a Dole Whip for Magic Kingdom when I got a text message that Auburn High was closing school for a week. And I was like, well, anyway, we closed school for 3 weeks. Then we didn't open back up. And so when we go back to Auburn, like, I don't know nothing. Like, we won't do anything for 3 weeks. And then I finally get a call from our head coach. He said, I got 2 questions for you. Number one, will you cut my hair? Because I cut my own hair, Coach. I don't pay anybody to cut my hair. I get a set of clippers, and I cut my hair when I want to. Now, you can look at my hair and probably tell that I cut my own hair. But he said, will you cut my hair? And I said, no, I'm not going to cut your hair. And he said, well, will you be our defensive coordinator next season? Will you accept the job? And I said, heck yeah, I'll accept the job. And so I was all fired up and all that. But then it hit me. I'm like, we're in dang COVID. Like, we can't even get together. We can't do nothing. Like, we're having to do, we're making Facebook videos and putting them on there and telling the kids to go do these drills at their house and do all this kind of stuff. So that's how I got the defensive coordinator job. Was I'm sitting in my house one morning during COVID, hanging out with my family, and our head coach calls and offers me the job. So
it was barber or defensive coordinator.
Yeah. And luckily he didn't say, when I told him I wasn't going to cut his hair, he didn't go offer the job to somebody else. Lucky for me.
Yeah. I mean, once he offered you the DC job, you should have said, well, I mean, now that you've offered me the DC job, yeah, I'll cut your hair.
I probably should have.
That would have been a nice thing to do.
You're right. Looking back on, you know what? I may call him and tell him I'll come over and I'll cut his hair next time I see him.
I don't know. I don't know if I could cut. Well, I did in college. I cut people's hair, but I prefaced it with, I will not be held responsible for.
That's right.
You getting picked on because I gap you all up.
Dang right. Because I'll gap myself up too now, every now and then. But you know what? I don't care. It's fine.
So you're back at Auburn, where you wanted to be. You're defensive coordinator, and y'all are crack-a-lacking over there.
Yeah, I mean, we are. But, so that 2020 season obviously was a weird season with the COVID regulations and all that. And we didn't get to do, I look back on that. So we ended up going to the state championship game and played Thompson. And I'm not even going to lie, but I'm going to say this, and I don't even care. I had so many people, and this gets my heart rate up just saying this. So many people tell me, other people that I talked to around the state about that game, that we didn't have any chance, that they were too good and all that stuff. And man, that just burned me up that somebody would tell me we didn't have any chance. Now we lost the game, but we were up by 9 points with 19 seconds left. And I don't know if you know anything about that game, but they blocked the punt, scooped it up for a touchdown. Onside kicked it. Our hands team booted around. They got it, fell on it, threw a shot ball PI, threw another shot ball PI, and brought a field goal kicker out there and kicked the field goal to split the uprights with no seconds left, and they won the state championship. But our kids played great, and we thought we'd won the game until all that crap happened. But I don't even know where I was going with that story now, and I got that in my mind. But the season didn't start off like that because we didn't get to do a lot of stuff. We didn't get to have a spring, and all the stuff in the summer was like, you got to get in groups of, 6 and, work out. We had all these crazy regulations. And then, during the season, we didn't get to lift the weights. There's so many things we didn't get to do. So we go play the first game of the year, and we won, but it was something like 45-28. And I'm sitting there going, God dang, like we gave up 28 points in the first game of my tenure as defensive coordinator. But I remember this. I remember looking at the film and going, well, dang, like every little thing that you didn't get to do in the summer is what's wrong on the film. Our D-line was not squeezing and spilling like they should. And our linebackers weren't playing downhill as much and all these little things. And I thought, we can fix that. Like the kids were playing hard. I was like, we can fix all this kind of stuff. And so we went to work the next week and we played our region rival, Opelika, and beat them like 38-10 or something like that. And then I think we shut out the next opponent. And then we just got rolling, and we just went on a roll throughout that year until the state championship game. And I know that those kids were, I guess looking back on it, that was great for me after not being very good at Geneva. And then now the second time, like those kids just went on a roll and got us to the state championship game. And, I hated for them that we didn't finish it. And those things happened at the end of the game that took the game from us. But that was a really fun really fun first year for sure.
And how have things gone since then?
Well, so right after that season, our head coach left and went to Tuscaloosa and took the job at Tuscaloosa County High School. And so I'm sitting there going, what the heck else can happen to me in Auburn? You get the defense coordinator job, and then the head coach leaves. Like, so, this 7A football, I'm thinking whoever they hire, surely this guy, he's going to have a coordinator he's going to bring in. And, like, really all I wanted, I had such a good time, calling the defense and coaching those kids. I just wanted to keep doing it. I wanted them to hire a good dude that was going to come in here and let us work and just keep doing what we were doing and let me keep calling the defense. And I remember, when Tim Carter left, I remember, I guess that's 2015, I was really stressed out about what was going to happen. And so this time around, sure, I was a little stressed, but I really kind of just didn't worry about it. To be honest with you, I thought all the stuff that's happened to me at Auburn, and God's kept me here at this point. I mean, God dog, he's going to do the same thing this time. And they hired Keith Etheridge, who had been at Oxford, and then he had been in like T.R. Miller, Pell City, and Leeds. I think he's won 6 state championships. They hired him, and he immediately called me out the day before they made it official. He said, Coach, if you want to keep calling defense, I want you to keep calling the defense. And so he kept me. And so that first year, we went to the semifinals, trying to get this straight. We went to the semifinals, and we got beat on a extremely, I'll go to my grave saying it was an interception. We hit the quarterback, and he kind of slung it, and we were winning the game at this point. And it bounced off of an offensive lineman's back that was on the ground. Bounced off his back, and our D lineman slid, dove, and caught it. And the ball was on the 10 going in, and we're celebrating. And I'm thinking, huge stop in the game. Well, they called it an incomplete pass. And it's clear that it was an interception. So anyway, we lost that year. And then the next year, we go to the semifinals. Same place, same team, Central High School in Phoenix City. Unbelievable athletes, coaching, football program. We go to the semifinals. And we were ranked number 1 that year and went over there in the regular season. And they beat us. I wasn't bad, but they beat us bad enough to where I was really down in the dumps. We didn't play good on defense. And I remember sitting on the bus telling our guys, I had 3 coaches with me, telling them, it's like, guys, we got to get back and play these guys again. And I know we can beat them. I knew it in my heart on the bus that night. And so, I was down in the dumps, and my wife, going into work that Sunday, she sent me a song, a praise and worship song called Graves to Gardens. And she said, look, because I was negative and down in the dumps all weekend. She sent me that song, and she said, you can let this be a grave for y'all, or you can let this be a garden, and you can grow from it. And I didn't know what I was going to say to the team when I was walking in the door. Like, I had no clue what I was going to say to them. And she sent me that song. I'm not going to lie, Coach. I played that song for them in there in our meeting, and I told them that. I said, you can let this be a grave, and we can be done, or you can let this be a garden, and we can grow from it, and we can get back and play them again, and we can beat them. And so we got back, played them again over there, and beat them like 10-7, or really low scoring ball game, and went to the state championship game and played absolutely awful, and got beat by Thompson again in the state championship game. And then last year we had another good team. Quarterback got hurt, struggled all year to score with him being out, and we ended up going to the quarterfinals and lost to Central, who won the 7A state championship last year. So it's been good. We've been on a little run. I feel like we've got, a really good team coming back this year. The problem is everybody in our region is going to have a good team coming back. So, you got to find some things that can separate you and get you over the hump. Hope you get a little bit of luck and you stay healthy. And if all those things can happen, I think we can, go as far as we want to.
Well, and when you're y'all, everybody you play is good. So, I mean,
yeah.
It's not like you're going to play anybody that's not.
No, and we just reclassified in Alabama, and they added, Carver Montgomery to our region, who is going to have, tons of athletes. And, Opelika High School just hired a new head coach. So when you look at our region, there's 6, maybe 7 teams in our region that are playoff teams, but only 4 can go to the playoffs. So, it's stressful sometimes thinking about it, but it's going to be fun. I like those kind of games where something's on the line, so it should be a fun season coming up for sure.
Well, do you have any aspirations of being a head coach, or are you just cool with doing what you do?
I think maybe I do, but I also think about this sometimes. Like, what do I do in my spare time when I'm in the class or, at home and all that? I get on the whiteboard and I'm drawing up, pressures and coverages and all this. I'm not sitting there working on, budgeting and things I would do at a parent meeting or something like that. So I still get excited about, that kind of stuff. So I don't know. It would have to be, it would have to be something special. Like, I'm not going to go search out a head coaching job. I'm not going to go do that. It would have to be something that fell in my lap, and plus, like I said a while ago, my family don't want to move a whole lot. I've had a couple opportunities come up that would be really good. And, I've talked to so many people about this, but I'm not going to move, and it may hinder me professionally. I don't know, but I'm not going to move. I got 2 daughters, and maybe it would be different if I had sons, but I don't know what you got, Coach, but having girls, and they look at me and they say, Daddy, they do not want me to stop coaching. They absolutely love football. They do not want to move, and I'm not going to move them. I mean, I'm not. It would have to be something just absolutely that fell in my lap that said, "This is it. Go do it." So right now, what I really want to do, Auburn High has never won a state championship in the history of the school in football, and really, they've only probably started being really, really in the last 20, 30 years when Tim Carter got there. They really started rolling in football. And so we've never won a state championship, and I've been in 3 state championship games since I've been here. What I really want to do is win a state championship for Auburn High. That's what I want to do. I'd love to be part of the staff, the defense coordinator, whatever, that wins the first state championship in the history of Auburn High School. So that's really what my focus is right now, being the best we can be on defense and trying to win that state championship for Auburn High. But sure, I look at it and think, I don't know how long I'm going to coach. Next year is my 25th year. I don't plan on retiring after 25. I mean, I'm still having fun coaching. And, whenever it gets unfun, I'm going to stop. Whenever I'm not having fun at it, I'm done. Or whenever it gets, I worry about it sometimes because it's so, I know it's probably the same in Georgia, but it's so different now than what it was when I started with all the recruiting and the NIL and, coaches get more and more arrogant. It seems to get more and more about them. Like, if that just keeps getting worse and I'm not having fun doing this, then I'll get out. Or when my kids tell me that they want me to be at home more, which that's never going to happen. They love it. So, maybe one day, I guess, is the short answer.
Well, that's awesome, Coach. I hope that you are on the staff. I'm sure it's just a matter of time here shortly before y'all push it over the edge and take that next step and win a state championship at Auburn. I know we've enjoyed the comedic value and the funny videos you put out for us, and especially the coaches. I mean, it's just pure. Yeah. It's gold, Jerry. It's gold.
Well, I appreciate that. And I thought several times, I told my wife, I said, I'm going to stop doing this. Like, people are going to think I'm an idiot. And as soon as I say something like that, I'll be a clinic. And I had a guy come up to me and tell me, and this happened several times, where a dad or an uncle or whoever is an overtired coach and they're kind of, missing it, and they get depressed, and they'll pull up one of these videos and it brings back good memories. And, when people say stuff like that, or these college coaches will tell me, hey, like, when we get tired of beating all the time, we pull up one of these videos and we watch it and we laugh and we keep going. I'm like, why not keep making them? You know what? I don't care if people think I'm an idiot. And it's fun. It's fun for me to do it too.
Oh yeah, I don't mind being the court jester.
No, I don't mind either.
It's fine with me. I mean, it's like you said, we got to have fun. You got to have fun doing it, and when you're not having fun anymore, don't need to be doing it anymore.
That's right. And I'll tell you, that's one thing. I have listened to a lot of your podcasts, and the thing I enjoy about it is just dudes telling stories. And I laughed at Rocky Hidalgo's the other day, and I don't remember who else it was, but it was some guy that was at a small school in Georgia, and he was telling and I was sitting there in my daughter's softball practice, listening to him, my AirPods, just dying laughing at just the coaching stories, because you can relate to all of them. So I've enjoyed listening to your podcast for that reason.
Well, I appreciate it. We were setting out, for people to tell funny stories, and then, some people, they're just not funny. And some people, they can tell really funny stories. But I've learned everybody's got a story. And I'm interested in hearing everybody's story, and I'm sure glad that I got to hear yours. And I can't wait to see where it ends up. I didn't know that y'all could go out at 25 in Alabama.
Yeah, we can go out at 25.
We got to go 30.
Do you?
So I got 5 more.
Well, I mean, it's nice to sit here and think. It's crazy to sit here and think too that I'm that old.
Oh, you're an old head.
Yeah, I am, Coach. And I mean, and I can tell it more and more every day. I can tell that I'm the old guy that's been coaching for 25 years. I can tell it, but I just don't. I can see myself being one of those guys that's scared to give it up, because like, what's life? What am I going to do with my time? I mean, that's like right when football season ends, I don't know what to do with my mind or my time. Like, what do I think about? What do I do?
Well, I think another thing that is admirable is you share on Twitter that your journeys and your adventures with your girls, and you can really see that you're a good daddy. And that's good for young coaches to see too, that, ball is great and doing what we do and raising other kids is great, but there's nothing more important than spending your free time with your own kids.
That's right. And I've been lucky that we've had guys here, and that's always a worry about. We've had guys here that are family guys, and my kids come over there whenever they want to. It's the middle of a Sunday meeting, they come in there, and nobody blinks an eye, because that's the way it is with our whole staff. Everybody's kids run around, and that's another thing. If we, hire some guy that doesn't work like that, I'm out, man. I'll go work at Lowe's then or somewhere. I'm done. Because you're right. They're only small one time.
That's right. And you don't get one shot.
That's right.
I got one, and he's a 10th grader. And I'm not at the same school he's at.
Yeah.
And that bothers me.
Yeah.
And but it's best for him that he stay at the school he's at. Yep. And it just kills me that I can't eat lunch with him every day, and
I know.
That I'm not coaching him. And now he's a golfer, but still.
Yeah, I've seen that I've seen you post that stuff on Twitter. I sure have.
I don't get to see him every day, some days.
Yeah.
And during football season, I mean, you know how it is. I don't get to see him hardly at all.
Yeah.
And I think it's important, and I'm glad that you share with people, when y'all go on trips and you go places, and when y'all went to, was it Chicago or
went to New York,
and you were
you
were cutting up about, we got to go see the giant.
I had fun making that video. Now that video was funny.
Yeah, that was hilarious. And then, I mean, your girls get into it with you, and they help with the videos, and it's just funny. It's great, and I appreciate it. And I knew when I first saw it, I was like, man, I got to meet this guy, because we on the same wavelength. Things that he thinks are funny, I think's funny.
Thankfully, our head coach has the exact same. He has the exact same sense of humor. I mean, I get these goofy videos that my wife would look at and think, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. I can send it to him, and he'd just start laughing.
Oh, no. When you do, I mean, my wife will listen to them. I mean, she thinks they're hilarious, too. I mean, when you do the one about being at the clinic, there's Kirby. Hey, Kirby. Yeah, he called me the other day, and, we might work something out. I mean, that's just, man, it's so funny, because, I mean, you hear these people say this stuff. And
Absolutely.
You're like, yeah, that happened.
Yeah.
And I mean, me and you say it, and people know we're kidding. Like, we're at a clinic, and we're like, I had a chance to go to Florida State last year, but I decided to stay put.
That's right.
People know me and you are joking, but there's actual coaches out there that they believe it.
100% that do, Coach.
And you're looking at them going, dude, you're the 9th grade left-footed kicking coach at Ookie Bookie High School.
That's right. You're the boundary corner coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not good. Now, for
That's
a team
right.
that's been winning the house.
That's right.
But
Yep.
I sure do appreciate you coming on. And I'm sure during the clinic circuit, we'll run into each other at some point in time. If nothing else, I'll come and get clinicked. I might need to come and sit down with you and let you clinic me up and teach me some stuff.
I don't, and I'll be glad to do it. But you teach me some stuff. I'm always looking to learn.
Because you're only an hour away from where I work, so I might have to get with you and learn some stuff over the summer. But Coach, I sure do appreciate it. And if there's anything I can ever do for you, just reach out and let me know.
You too, Coach. I appreciate you having me on.
Thanks, Coach.
Yes, sir.